Church, and the election of the Archbishop of Buenos Aires, Jorge Mario Bergoglio, as Pope. An examination of the background of these extraordinary comments can give an insight into the nature of current ecclesiastical politics, particularly in liberal European episcopal circles. The St. Gallen group is sort of a posh name, Daniel said, to appreciative laughs from a live audience. But in reality, we called ourselves and that group the Mafia. The Cardinal was speaking on a Belgian television program. In the brief video uploaded to the internet containing Daniel's remarks, a voiceover summarized the nature of the group that met every year since 1996 in St. Gallen, Switzerland, originally at the invitation of the town's bishop, Ivo Fiore, and the famous Italian Jesuit and academic and Archbishop of Milan, Cardinal Carlo Maria Martini. Together they organized the secret resistance against Cardinal Ratzinger, who at that time was the right-hand man of John Paul II, as head of the Congregation for the Doctrine of the Faith. When Pope John Paul II died in 2005, the group already pushed the present Pope, Francis, to the fore, though his first attempt failed to put Jorge Mario Bergoglio on the throne. When faced with the election of Ratzinger as Pope Benedict XVI, Daniels could hardly hide his disappointment, the narrator says. Daniels gave the interview to promote his authorized biography and added that the St. Gallen group had bishops and cardinals too many to name. But all of them held the same general aim, the implementation of a liberal/progressivist agenda and opposition to Pope Benedict and the direction of moderate doctrinal conservatism. Although later it was denied that the group was secret, Daniels said, "Things were discussed very freely. No reports were made so that everyone could blow off steam." The program interviewed one of Daniel's biographers, Jürgen Metapenningen, who co-authored the authorized biography with Karim Skelkens, saying that by 2013, with the resignation of Benedict, you can say that through his participation in that group, Cardinal Daniels has been one of those who were the pioneers of the choice of Pope Francis. The authors of the Daniels biography listed the group's concerns as the situation of the Church, the primacy of the Pope, collegiality, and John Paul II's succession. English Vaticanist Edward Penton writes that they also discuss centralism in the Church, the function of bishops' conferences, development of the priesthood, sexual morality, and the appointment of bishops, a schema more or less identical to the one that was to come into public view at the two synods on the family convened by Pope Francis in 2014 and 2015. As one of the most powerful Catholic prelates in Europe and one of the leading voices in the dominant liberal camp of the European episcopate, Daniel's biography was of great public interest. Lest it be imagined that the cardinal was joking, the existence and general purpose of the St. Gallen Mafia was confirmed the next day by biographer Karim Skelkens in an interview with a local St. Gallen radio station. Edward Penton summarized what was known about the group, writing in the National Catholic Register, "The personalities and theological ideas of the members sometimes differed, but one thing united them, their dislike of the then prefect of the Congregation for the Doctrine of the Faith, Cardinal Joseph Ratzinger." Penton continued, "The group wanted a drastic reform of the Church, much more modern and current, with Jorge Bergoglio, Pope Francis, as its head. They got what they wanted." Penton added in a later article that although the St. Gallen group officially ceased meeting in 2006, there can be no doubt that its influence continued into 2013. It's safe to say that it helped form a network that paved the way for at least favoring Cardinal Bergoglio at the conclave 7 years later. In 2015, the German author and Vatican expert Paul Batty confirmed this, saying that he had received reliable information that 3 days after the burial of Pope John Paul II, Cardinals Martini, Lehmann, and Kasper from Germany, Bacchus from Lithuania, von Loin from the Netherlands, Daniels from Brussels, and Murphy O'Connor from London met in the so-called Villa Nazareth in Rome, the home of Cardinal Silvestrini, who was then no longer eligible to vote. They then discussed in secret a tactic of how to avoid the election of Joseph Ratzinger. Following the revelations by Daniels, a somewhat confused letter appeared from the Diocese of St. Gallen that partially retracted the claim that the group had influenced the resignation of Pope Benedict. The letter did confirm that the election of Jorge Bergoglio as Pope Francis in 2013 corresponded to the goal pursued in St. Gallen, noting that this information came